To Farron, she looked on the point of despair or madness. Her shivering was uncontrollable, almost hard to watch. "Get her a blanket," he said, despite himself. "What did you say?" said Gabrielle, his tone incredulous. "We are not nursemaids. Your kind is clearly too naive to realize it, Farron, but compassion is a weakness." "If she dies, it will be next to impossible to unpick what happened here," said Farron, his tone level. "We will have the answers we need before she expires," said Zeroff. Next to him, the company master turned and looked out of the window, already disinterested. Farron moved over to Gabrielle and grabbed his heavy cloak, yanking it so hard it tore away from the clasps on his shoulders with a loud rip. The company master spun, his face a mask of indignant fury. His power sword was already halfway from its skullwork scabbard, glowing blue with a crackle of disruptive energies. Zeroff's hand shot out and grabbed the company master by the wrist, holding his sword arm in place. The chaplain fixed Gabrielle with an even stare, daring him to lash out. Farron turned away without a word, wrapping the heavy cloak around the shivering woman until she was covered head to toe with only her face visible. She looked up at him, gratitude mingled with shock in her eyes as she pulled the velvety fabric in close. "That cloak once waved a relic of the chapter's past," said Gabrielle, his voice cold and monotone. "You will answer for that." "The matter can wait," said Zeroff. "Farron is correct. The woman is more used to us alive and intelligible than a corpse." Farron cast about the room, eyes alighting on a bullet flask wedged in between two of the cogitator banks. He walked over, ignoring Gabrielle's dagger stare as he pulled the flask out and unscrewed the cap. He held it under his respirator for a moment. It had the bitter tang of recaf, mixed with the ester-rich scent of moonshine. Bad quality and poisonous in the long term, but clearly the riggers found it warming enough. "Here," he said, handing it to the woman. "Drink this." Zedro Farron served as a lieutenant of the Dark Angels chapter during the era Indomitus. A stickler for rules, promoted during his time spent as an unnumbered son of the Indomitas Crusade. Though Rabute Gilliman would sanction the unnumbered sons to the return of their chapter of their genetic bloodline, the inheritors of the first saw the Primaris as nothing short of spies for the Avenging Sun. Assigned to the Dark Angels' Third Company under the command of Master of the Arsenal, Master Gabriel, this by-the-book Primaris Space Marine would be treated with distrust by his brethren from the moment of his integration. His squadron fondly regarding the Archmagos Dominus and creator of their breed as Father Call. These sons of Mars would prove difficult to assimilate into their new chapter, especially having been tutored in the arts of war by the Lord of Ultramar above the Lion's own teachings. Deployed to the ocean world of Saltire Vex to combat the Tau Xenos. During conflict with a squadron of Xenos battlesuits, Zedro's squad endured a psychic attack, whilst a mortal woman, the human psyker known as Jensa Deal, witnessed the escape of a jet black shuttle, escaping the planet of Astartes' design. Master Gabriel and his advisor interrogated Chaplain Zeroff, launching an investigation following Zedro's report. Their intelligence gathered gleaned that the human settlers of the planet had willingly allied to the Tau. Believing themselves to have been forsaken by the Imperium, turning to the aliens for purpose. Such an affront to the grace of the Emperor would not stand, especially with intel gleaned of the Tau's abduction of Psykers for some unknown reason. Using Jensa as bait to lure the Xenos into action, before such a heretic in the eyes of the chapter could fulfill her purpose, Lieutenant Farron organized a clandestine meeting with the mortal, attempting a more subtle means of enlightenment. Believing the human's plight, preserving Jensa with a scroll to present to the astropathic relay station of Quarrenon. During her escape attempt, Farron's wounds incurred from his fighting on Saltire Vex required attention from the Apothecarian. Awakening aboard the battle barge, Executioner's Blade, learning from his medical operator that his own Primaris kinsman had likewise been subjected to strange psychic phenomena, the Third Company in its entirety had abandoned the ocean world in attempts to pursue a foe of unknown providence. Venturing to the homeworld of their successor chapter, the Angels of Absolution, Allhallow, the Dark Angels identified the fallen angel to which they sought, Gohariel, the Primaris reinforcements, unaware of the traitors of their Legion of Origin, as their new kinsmen made all attempts to conceal their nature. Finding the Fortress Monastery mortal guards to be transformed by immaterial intervention. As Deathwing forces made planetfall, the Dark Angels would identify Tau forces, commanded by Commander Shorestrike, to impede their path. Chasseau Monarch Case, aiding its master in purging the afflicted humans. the Xenos managed to negotiate a temporary alliance with the Dark Angels, agreeing to purge the human populace of Saltire Vex to absolve themselves of shame. Lieutenant Farron's squad delving into the Soul's Well beneath the Fortress Monastery. As Zedro carved through the hordes of Tzeentch-corrupted demons and mutants, he would come to understand their target to be the provenance of a mysterious space marine. Sergeant Morikani aiding his senior officer in cornering Goriel. With the fallen angel captured and mortals of Allhallow purged, each battle brother of the company would be retrieved for mind erasure of their dealings with the Tau. A ruse concocted to censure their knowledge of the fallen angel. Despite the clerical efforts of the Dark Angel's apothecaries, their lack of experience of the workings of Primaris biology would prove a grave oversight. Zedro's Belisarian furnace activating, allowing him and his men to flee the Apothecarian via boarding torpedoes. During their transit, the Primaris Marines observed the Dark Angels assaulting the Kroot Warsphere, which contained human refugees of Saltire Vex. Reuniting with Jensa Deal, confirming the Dark Angels' intent to destroy Saltire Vex to end the psychic plague befalling its populace. Master Gabriel and Chaplain Zaroff watched the Primaris as his thoughts wrestled for where his allegiance lied. Disappointed that his prior actions to ensure her escape from Saltire Vex had led her straight back into the hands of grasping Xenos, Zedro would not offer a third chance to spread treason, a bolt round to her head, ending his unease. Interrogator Chaplain Zaroff commending Farron for his resolve to put his chapter's needs above that of mortals. With Master Gabriel, Apothecary Ortinicus, and Epistolary Dothrael in tow, the Firstborn bid the Primaris to leave, allowing him to witness the Warsphere's destruction using melter charges as thousands perished within. Rewarded for his ruthlessness with induction into the outer layer of the chapter's inner circle. Now as the first of the Circle Primaris, Zedro Farron would be charged with pursuing leads of the Fallen, reported by the Ultima Foundings and Mechanicus of Mars. Zedro's fate unknown following his induction into this new branch of the Enigmatic Brotherhood. None know if Farron achieved the sanction of Supreme Grandmaster Azrael to become a true huntsman of the Inner Circle, or perished in the trying.